Chelsea destroyed by Brighton at the Amex 4-1 to the Seagulls. Nobody predicted this. Nobody saw this coming, especially with Chalobah starting the game as well. But Chelsea comprehensively beaten from pillar to post by Brighton, who have had a very torrid run since Graham Potter left, going to Anfield, playing Man City, playing Tottenham and Chelsea in the space of 5 games. They get the win today in emphatic style. They really, really did. And also Tottenham with an absolutely tremendous comeback. They were 2-0 down. They were staring down the barrel, Tottenham, of 3 defeats on the bounce, really putting their hopes of any title charge absolutely to bed, and of course applying big pressure on them in the league title race, with Newcastle winning, going ahead of them. And they came back, they kept persevered, they kept on attacking. The attacking substitutions were made by Antonio Conte. Should have started with more on the pitch for me, but they were just too much for AFC Bournemouth, who fought well. A brace from Kiefer Moore. They did very, very well to put themselves in that position, but Tottenham, far too good for them, came out on top, got the 3 points, and to create that space between them and Chelsea now, keep that pressure on Newcastle and sit just a couple of points behind Arsenal, who were at some point this afternoon thinking, wow, what an afternoon this could be for us, especially with Man United and West Ham playing each other tomorrow. It could have been a very, very, very brilliant afternoon for the Gooners. Lots to delve into, lots to talk about as well. A few people saying Spurs were lucky. I don't think Spurs were lucky. They started poorly and they came back, and they absolutely deserve to win. Spurs deserve to win today. There's no doubt about it. They were the better team over the 90 minutes. They were able to show tremendous fight, courage, perseverance, and character to get back from the position that they were in. Comebacks are something that should be celebrated. They're not an element of luck to me. The goals weren't lucky. The creativity wasn't fortuitous. It wasn't they were losing 1-0, playing poorly, and a goal came from ricocheting off 3 people's backsides. They were the better team in the game, and comebacks are something to celebrate. They definitely deserved it, in my opinion. Spurs clear of Chelsea is what Oxford Guy has got to say here. The Arsenal terrorist was hoping for a Spurs loss, but not today. Listen, as a Man United fan, I was hoping for a Spurs loss. I was hoping for a Chelsea loss. I hope Arsenal and Man City lose every game. But I'm going to praise Spurs for their comeback. They were absolutely brilliant in that second half, even though they conceded, and they thoroughly deserved it, in my humble opinion. Great to see the London Cowboys losing. Spurs deserve the win. Good second half, is what's been said there. And that's absolutely spot on. It was a very good second half from Tottenham. Let's have a little look here. Potter is a bum, is what's being said here. Newcastle is truly remarkable from last season to now, is what Gerard says. Yeah, Newcastle, I haven't seen any of their game today. I was watching these two. I've seen the scoreline. The last time I checked, it was 3. The last time I checked, it was 3-0. Could have been even more. I haven't checked it. 4-0. It's 4-0, and the game is still going on as it stands right now. I know Callum Wilson had a brace. Almiron scored again. I didn't even know that. But yeah, Newcastle, all guns blazing. United, it still annoys me. We could have beaten them at the last. Rashford, that miss, we could have beaten them. They're a serious team. They're a serious team this year. They're serious, and it's going to make the top 4 race exciting. Chelsea outplayed today. Caicedo, wow, what a player. Yeah, he dominated that midfield. He absolutely dominated the midfield. I think he hit the post at some point, and he hit the woodwork at some point in the game. Tremendous. Trossard, this guy is going to get a move, isn't he, in January? You would expect a move, and for good money, maybe, unless he's got only a little amount of time left on his contract. Sensational from him. And yes, there was 2 own goals today, one from Ruben Loftus-Cheek and the other one from Chalobah. But those own goals came from such great pressure from this Brighton team, who from the first whistle were emphatic, energetic, powerful. And what really stood out to me, above and beyond everything else, was even in the second half, Chelsea scored early. They dominated the ball in the second half. I'm not even sure by how much. I'm just going to have a little look here and move the cursor to the second half possession. 70% of the ball. But I'm going to be honest with you. I felt Brighton let you have it and said, I don't think you can break us down. And Chelsea couldn't really break them down. there's a good chance towards the end for Kai Havertz that went over. Watching as a rival that wants Chelsea to drop points, I didn't feel like, oh, this is going to go the other way. Watching the Spurs game, I felt it the whole second half they were going to come back. I didn't with Chelsea today. A real lack of penetration and edge to the game that cost them. And you look at the league table next to me now, United, if they beat West Ham tomorrow, go into fifth. Chelsea, not losing ground per se. They've got a game in hand over Newcastle, a game in hand over Tottenham. They could conceivably win that. But that's 3 matches now on the bounce without winning. And, couldn't beat Brentford. United probably had the better of that game, really. They got that penalty at the end that gave them the point in essence. And then, of course, today, comprehensively beaten. There will be a mini inquest going on amongst Chelsea fans, I'm sure. We're going to hear from Roy. We're going to hear from Matt very soon as well. The wheels are falling off. Not good enough. Potter is a scam, is what Laddie here, who is a Chelsea fan, believes. Thinks that Graham Potter is a scam. I'd love you to explain what you mean by him being a scam, my friend. I want to know. I want to know what you mean. I want to know what you mean. I wouldn't say he's a scam. It's been a poor few games. This is still at the beginning of a project for Chelsea. Let's not get that twisted. And he's had none of his own players purchased yet. Takes time. And I still think Chelsea are moving in the right direction as a football club. But to look at what they're doing on the pitch right now, something's got to give, because there's just a lack of intensity in Chelsea in this last couple of weeks. And that's what I'd put it down to, a lack of intensity. Running, pressing, being able to withstand the pressure. The intensity definitely gone. Oh, Trossard only has 6 months left on his contract. Sorry, I didn't know that. He learns something new every day. Listen, someone's got to go and get him in January. This player is very, very talented, and he's in the form of his life right now. Bournemouth bent over for Cornerham in the end. They just don't have the overall quality, Bournemouth. And I feel like their second goal actually came too early, because the second goal came and they after that point, they had no outlet. They just all sat behind the ball and invited Tottenham onto them. If they would have kept it at 1-0 till about the 70th minute and got that goal, it would have been very different. But the mindset crept in to go, oh, let's just sit back and try and hold on to this. And generally, when you go up against the top teams, that's the most dangerous thing you can do. They should have been more attacking and a bit more on the front foot and pushed Tottenham back. And they just couldn't do it. Because Tottenham have too much quality for them. And Tottenham, look, if Tottenham would have drawn that game, it would have still have been an embarrassment. Worst team in the league, along with probably Nottingham Forest. And if they couldn't have beaten them, it would have been crazy. A season is dead for me, is what Juan says here. Some of these players are dead. Midfield needs a refresh, and our attack, God help us, please. We're going to the Europa. Ruben Loftus-Cheek in the bin. Yeah, look, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is one of the biggest frauds in football. Let's have this absolutely right. Loftus-Cheek is one of the biggest frauds in football. He's an eye test merchant's dream. He looks good being terrible. Dribbles okay, good touch, good lines. If he was on Strictly Come Dancing, they'd say great lines. But what does he do? The amount of times I see him cross a ball when he hits the first man, or he shoots when he shouldn't, or he gets into a good position and he doesn't make the right decision. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, listen, honestly, if he was ugly, he's a stunning looking man. If he was an ugly geezer, I don't think he'd be loved as much. I think because he looks good. I honestly think that helps him. Oh, bless him. Look at him. He's so lovely. But I don't know. For me, I think he's I think he's terrible. Boycott the football terrace. Yeah, good luck with that, Alex. You can't boycott it while you're here, can you? Would you say that to his face, Terry? Would I tell Ruben Loftus-Cheek to his face that I think he's a myth? In the right context, yes. If he said to me, Terry, do you not think I'm good enough to play for Chelsea or a top 6 team? I'd say, I don't think you are. No. Would I be rude to him and nasty to him? No, because I wouldn't be rude and nasty to anybody's face without there being provocation. But if Ruben Loftus-Cheek walked in this room now and said, do you think I'm good enough for a top 6 team? I would say no. I would have no qualm with doing that. You're chatting to the wrong guy if you think I wouldn't say things I say on camera to someone's face. Because I'm not nasty about it. I'm having a bit of a joke. But there we go. Big up Giovanni Vio, the set piece coach, Tottenham signing of the season. We never scored from set pieces before he arrived. I wasn't too sure on who he is, but thank you for shouting him out. I appreciate that. Football Matter says Potter who? Sleep says, no, you wouldn't, Terry. Well, then you don't know me very well. But again, Why are Chelsea fans defending Ruben Loftus-Cheek? I'm not saying anything that isn't true. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is not good enough, even as a squad player, to get Chelsea back to the peak of their powers to make them title challengers again. He isn't good enough. He looks good, literally, and on the ball, but there's no substance to his play. None. None whatsoever. Zero. He isn't good enough for Chelsea. I know he's from Cobham. I know there is a love affair with wanting academy players to make it. I'm a Man United fan. I understand that. But Ruben Loftus-Cheek is not good enough for Chelsea. He isn't. He wouldn't get into the squad of City. He wouldn't get into the squad of any Chelsea team that's ever won the Premier League. He wouldn't. Not on a regular basis, barring injuries. You think about your best Chelsea teams that have won titles. Does he even make your bench? Really? He may have. Was he on the bench when you won it with Jose? Maybe. I don't know. But for me, I don't think he's good enough. And that's not me digging him out. That's me having high standards for your football club. You're one of the best football clubs in Europe for the last 20 years. He's got to be better. You've got to find better. I know I'm right. And listen, I don't think it's a imagine saying Terry's hot take of the day, Ruben Loftus-Cheek isn't good enough to make Chelsea champions of England again. Woo! Imagine being offended by that. Hot take of the day. Terry says that water makes you wet. Do you know what I mean? A bit mad. Hot take of the day. I'm not going to do that one. I nearly did a Kanye joke. I'm not going to do it. Terry, you did call him one of the biggest frauds in the footballing world. Didn't just call him not good enough. Yeah, listen, I'm on camera having a bit of a bubble. If he said to me, Terry, did you call me a fraud? I'd say yes, I did. I'd say it's probably a little bit disrespectful, but this is why. I wouldn't be scared. Why would I be scared of him? I'm not scared. There's not a footballer in the world I'm scared of. If it's Anthony Joshua, Conor McGregor, maybe a little bit intimidated. But a footballer, why would I be scared of a football player? He's not a gangster. He's not a roadman. His name, it's not Deshane. Top boy coming for me. It's not a football hooligan. It's not a boxer, an MMA fighter. It's a footballer. Why would I be scared? Why would a grown man be scared of a footballer? Kovacic was the worst. Ruben Loftus-Cheek today, both were crap. Look, I don't think there's a single Chelsea player you can look at and go, did well today. Not from my point of view. All really, really poor. McTominay is better. I'm not even responding to that. I'm not even responding to it. Got some more super chats here. I might have done some of them already. No excuses. 2 words. Absolutely pathetic is what Z's got to say here. I see a lot of people, a lot of Chelsea fans saying similarly. Maybe this is why Chelsea fans haven't been getting excited recently. Maybe I haven't seen it. Brighton took that Chelsea game personal, is what David has got to say here. They most certainly did take it personally. They took it very, very personally indeed, and they went for it hard. They went for it hard. Most footballers would beat you to a pulp. You think? I reckon in a fight, if I trained and got back to my full fitness, I reckon I could take 90% of Premier League footballers in a fight. Like, I'm fully fit, toned up, ready to go. I'm like a 15-stone fighter. I reckon I could. They're about 12 stone. So I've got like a 3-stone weight advantage over him. Plus, I can kick hard. I'd take the legs out. I just wound you off. I don't know. I don't care. It's not going to happen, is it? Potter being touted as some upcoming servant revolutionary superstar manager. That's the scam. No settled team to gel. Can do better. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is rubbish, is what Laddie has got to say here. Are people blaming Potter for this? Legitimately, are people blaming Potter for this? Are people blaming Potter for this? Is this really Potter? Is it his fault? I'm intrigued. By the way, people, make sure that like button is being smashed. Thought Gallagher and Havertz were great today, even in the first half. Shame they were surrounded by bums. Potter got it horrifically wrong today, is what Grey Wolf's Dinner says here. Watch the media not have a meltdown over Chelsea, is what David has got to say here. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I'm intrigued to understand why. I mean, the media not having a meltdown is the media, isn't it? The ballers are soft. I think you would KO 90%. Nah, we'll see. We'll see. Let's get it done. If there's a promoter at Eddie Hearn, if you're watching, let's try and get it done. I'm joking. I like eating cheese and Pringles too much. If I'm being honest. Do you want to fight a footballer for 100 grand or eat cheese and eat Pringles? I'm picking the Pringles. I think I don't need the money, so it's all right. It's all right. It's Romans. Someone wrote it's Roman's fault. I love that. You're 40 talking about you can take on a pro athlete. I'm not 40. Anyway, I'm going to stop responding to it now. I'm not 40. I'm 36. But they can't fight. I've got 3 black belts in 3 different styles of martial arts. So I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. You know what I mean? I'd definitely take you. No, I wouldn't fight Duncan Ferguson now at his age. Yeah, definitely have him. Not in his heyday. I wouldn't have fought footballers from back in the day. But there we go. Right, I'm going to share the link now for people to call in and have their say with. I want to hear from you. Have something to say, though, please, people. And I mean this. Sometimes people call in. They're like, hi, Terry, I'm just happy to be here. Well, thanks. I'm only joking with you. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day as well now. United's game. There was one point today where I was like, United could go like 3rd tomorrow. But Spurs came back and then Newcastle went on to win. Is Newcastle's game finished now? Yeah, finished 4-0. They're on fire. They're on fire. And Callum Wilson, what a game he had. 2 goals, an assist, and he hit the woodwork. Crazy. Juan, did I miss your chat? I don't think I missed your chat, Juan. I swear I put it up. Maybe you went to the toilet or something. I read yours out, bro. 100%. Unless you put a new one in that I missed. Juan, sorry. No, I definitely read it, bro. Definitely read out your super chat, my brother. I definitely read it out. But there we go. Islam versus Volkanovski. Got to go with Islam on that. I like both. I don't care who wins, but I'd go with Islam on that. That guy's squeeze is too good. Too good. Oh, by the way, Akinfenwa, nah. Like, he's in that percentile. And he's a big geezer. But there we go. Gas Terry, 3 black belts. No, I do. Korean Tang Sado, American style kickboxing and Shotokan. So 3 different styles of martial arts. And yeah. And the Thai boxing gym I trained in didn't do belts, but I was there like 7 years. So yeah, I don't know what you equate that to, but I did all right. Unfortunately, we have a few more days like those ahead of us. We are in a rebuild, not a fast rebuild, but a proper one. I'm looking forward to our future, but it will be hard for a year or 2, is what Edward Hogan has got to say here. There was another chat that came in that said, Terry, have you heard in Pep's press conference? He said that Man United are coming back. He likes what he sees. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. I'm not speaking about Man United in that regard just yet. I've already stated on Man United until I keep having rivals say I've got to praise us more. And I'm like, listen, until you will say you were wrong and you say we're really good, I'm saying nothing. It's just a stance I'm going to take. Terry's hardest 10-stone man of all time. 10 stone, bruv. 10. I've been 10 stone since I was about 14. But there we go. Right, let's go to my first caller of the day. I want to speak to. Are you there, Roy? Where's Roy, my boy? Roy, my boy. Is he gone? Juan's come back. He says probably didn't go through, but you sold me on Sterling, but he is trash, Terry. Got a jersey and everything. Waste of money. 100% we'll find Todd. But listen, I still think there's a lot of players in this Chelsea team that are capable of scoring. You need to create, though. You know, there is this weird notion in football that we need to sign a striker that can create all his own chances. There's a handful of these players that exist, and they don't even do that game by game. Like, how good's Messi? How good is Messi? Is he creating a goal for himself every game? And I don't really know what. And I want to. If you say yes, I want to understand what you. If you say yes, he does. In your yes, I need you to explain what someone creating their own goal is. I need to understand your logic behind it, because creating your own goal for me is picking the ball up in around the halfway line, because the opponents that you're playing with have given the ball away unforced, and then you dribble past the team and score. Because at any point, if you use a teammate for a 1-2, if somebody wins the ball back and feeds it through to you, if there's a pass from A midfielder that breaks the line and the ball's cut in and then Messi gets it in the box, he takes 2 players on and scores. That's not creating your own chances. There's still a team effort to that for me. So I want to understand what people mean by creating your own chances. All the strikers at Chelsea need an element of creativity for them. And there's very, very little today. The one time there was a ball put into the box where you go, that should be a goal. Havertz puts it away. But how many times in the game were those being created? How many times in the game did you break the lines and get in behind like Brighton did in the first half? For me, very rarely. And that's a midfield issue. That's a creativity issue. That's got to be resolved a bit more than Raheem Sterling and Aubameyang, in my humble opinion. A lot of people saying, yes, he does. So Messi scores a goal every game where he picks the ball up in midfield and dribbles past the whole team and scores. Nah, not having it. I think Messi is one of the top 2 footballers that have ever existed in humanity, but he doesn't do that every game. I'm going to hazard a guess he doesn't do it more than 4 or 5 times in a season. That might even be too much, to be honest with you. This notion of players create and score their own goals, it's a myth. It's a lie. It's like rocking horse shit. It doesn't exist. It really, really doesn't, because it's a team sport. You can't do it without them. You can't do it without them. It's a solo goal. Yeah, and that's cool, but I want to understand what people mean by creating your own chances. Because maybe you don't mean, maybe your definition is different to mine. So I want to understand your definition. Understanding people's definitions often helps you understand their opinions. So often people don't disagree with your opinion. They don't understand your logic. So I want to understand your logic, and I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to go, okay, I understand you. That's kind of what I mean. It's called critical thinking. I think that's what it is. Not critical thinking. Yeah, it is critical thinking. Like, I'm going to disagree with your opinion, but I understand your logic. I'm going to think critically about what you've said, but not fight it, because it doesn't really matter. Your logic is flawed. Messi's goal against Madrid in 2011 had Busquets pass to him, but surely that's all Messi. Yes. That would be creating your own chances and scoring. Yes. Pretty much all Messi. But my logic isn't flawed. I don't believe the majority of goals are created by one individual. I believe it's a team effort. That's my logic. So I want to understand people that think you can score goals by yourself. That's the question I'm asking. Let's not deep it any more than that, because it really doesn't need to be deeped. It's a question. I want you to answer it with a comment. This is what I think scoring a goal by yourself means. That's all I care about, really. Terry, loved your tweet earlier. G caused a lot of commotion. It's just an opinion on who my personal top 5 midfielders of all time in the Premier League are. Right. Roy's with us now. Roy, my boy, big Chelsea fan. Smash today, my friend. Give me your thoughts.
Oh, flipping hell. I think it's quite easy to sum up, to be honest. Like, we didn't want it as much as they did, and they showed that from the first minute. Like, they were pressing us high. They were forcing us into making mistakes. Thiago Silva made a couple criminal errors early on. He managed to have a couple goal line clearances, which he managed to bail himself out. But yeah, I think it was just a case of they wanted it more than us today. I think they outplayed us. I think Potter got the lineup wrong. I think Jorginho should have started a game like this, especially against his club, which had been so up for it. I mean, we would have needed control in the midfield, which we didn't really have today. I think 2 wingers at wing back wasn't really a clever choice either. And yeah, we were just all over the shop, to be honest. He didn't really create much apart from the header. And midfield, I thought, pretty non-existent. Like, Caicedo had a fantastic game, and like rightfully so, because we didn't make it difficult for him at all. And yeah, so I think 3 Premier League games without a win, obviously drawing to Brentford, drawing to you lot, and now losing to Brighton. I'm not saying it's not alarm bells ringing yet, but like, we do need to fix up fast, because we're going to find ourselves like way too far off the top 4, let's just put it that way, if we don't fix up quickly. And I know Potter hasn't got his players yet, but I still expect him to be able to not get more, but as in, I don't know the way to put it. I still expect him to coach better performances out of these players. Like, I think Sterling's been poor for a while now, and he started really well. And I was so excited when he scored twice against Leicester. He scored in the Champions League for us, and I thought, oh, this is an attacker where we finally got someone who can compare to the attackers that other top 6 clubs have. But since he scored his goals, he's done little to nothing.
Question for you on him. Is this a stylistic issue? Is it a lack of creativity? Where Monstar's been on the show a few times and said, look, as much as they're not doing very much, this is a midfield and creativity issue. We're just not putting the ball regularly enough into the danger zones. Is that what's going on at Chelsea? And if so, why? Is this a lack of quality, or is this Graham Potter? Is this Graham Potter not being good enough? And I'm asking that question based on the 50-50 split I see on social media from Chelsea fans. Like, what do you put the lack of intensity and the lack of goals in recent games down to?
Um, I think it's a bit unfair to put it all on, like, to blame Potter, because we had the same issues under Tuchel in terms of creating and scoring. So I don't think Potter's to blame. I just think I think it's mainly a personnel issue in terms of they're just lacking the necessary quality to be able to get the ball into the final third a lot. Like with Sterling, I thought we had someone who could get the ball in a half space or in around the opposition box, turn, face his man, and go at him. But we haven't really seen that. Like, and I know stats aren't the be all and end all, but like his dribble completion over the last few games has been like in the gutter. And that was something like him being able to go at his man, beat his man, stretch defenses is something that was meant like was not as in it was something that we really, really needed and was basically a big selling point of him, which is what we saw a lot at City during his time there. But like I think just decision making in the final third is not good enough. Like even final ball, the weight of pass, like there was a chance Mount had to slip in Havertz and just massively overhit it when it was such a simple pass. And I just think we see that way too often. In terms of midfield, I'm not expecting the midfield to be as creative as a prime Lionel or Messi, but in terms of just like progression and playmaking from deep, I just don't think they offer that enough. And again, that's contributing to our lack of creativity and hence lack of goal scoring in the final third. But in terms of what I mainly put it down to, I think it's just a poor blending of profiles in the final third, poor decision making, and yeah, I think it's just mainly those two. Like the profiles don't match, and the decision making just isn't good enough at times.
Yeah. Listen, I hear what you're saying, and this is what happens when you're rebuilding a club, philosophy and ethos from the ground up with no preseason and none of your own signings. And look, up until these last few games, I thought you were looking good. You were
It was
scoring
all
goals.
sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, you're always going to get these peaks and troughs. I think Man United fans have got to prepare themselves for the same thing. It looks really good right now, but we are going to probably hit some other periods this season where we go through some bad times because the managers don't have exactly what they would want at this moment in time. But very humbling day in the office today, definitely. Roy, I appreciate you coming on, mate, and having your say. Top
Thank you
man.
very much for having me.
Thank you. Viewers, make sure like buttons are being smashed. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Next on the show, Matt's here. We need to ask Matt about Kepa, dragged off at halftime by his manager. What are you saying, Matt?
I mean, on that point, that's the least of my worries right now. But on that point, if Don Kepa, I think it's honestly hopefully it's an injury because I'm gonna think positive. I'm gonna hope it's an injury because if it's not an injury, there's gonna be some problems. There's definitely gonna be some problems with Potter there. But it wasn't a great performance from anyone today. It was horrible, and I definitely kept at the start. Should have done a bit better for the first goal, 2 own goals. The Mendy came on. Not going to blame Mendy for anything. That last goal wasn't his fault. It's just this player's mentality, man. It's this. I've always said it. It's his player's mentality. There's no leadership in this team to drag when we're going 1-2-0 down. No one gets their head up and tries to win. I'll see Loftus-Cheek jogging back. I'll see Kovacic walking, and it's just no one wants to win. I see Brighton, they're passing, they're playing, they're going fast, boom, 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 and we're just walking when we're 3-0 down. That's embarrassing. And it's not on Potter. It's not. I've said the same thing from Tuchel. It's not the manager. We can keep sacking managers and sacking him. It's never going to be a manager problem. It's going to be these players. These players are generally horrible. Chelsea fans do not understand how bad our players are. Loftus-Cheek, I've said it for months. I've said for years. This guy's rubbish. And when we are relying on him in 2022, that's how you know how bad we are. We're relying on players like Gallagher as well. Gallagher, right, he's too inconsistent, just like everyone else. Havertz, Mount. I've said about Mount. Mount is horrible. He's not a generational talent. We need to keep consistency from him. I've said if I stop watching football, it'll be because of Mason Mount, because there's double standards in this football club, and I don't like that. If we snatch the English badge of Mason Mount's name, every fan will be saying it's double standards. But because he has an English flag next to him, no one wants to speak on it. I'll say it right now. There's double standards in this football club, and it's Mason Mount. He's having play control, and I absolutely hate play control. That's a downfall of the club, and that's why I'm going to stop watching football if this continues. Because I want to come August, if Mason Mount continues playing like this, we'll go out of our heads, and he'll keep playing on this pitch, and that's what I dislike. I want equal rights in this football club. I'm not here for double standards. Don't care if you have the English badge or not. But
So you think Mount's only being picked because he's English?
100%. I'm not saying just because English only picked, but I'm saying that when we come to a transfer window, Terry, and we come and we look at it, who we can sell, Mount's already written off that list because he's from Cobham. It's not obviously the English, but he's for the Cobham boy. They
So is
want
it
these fans
so
to be the
I-
next.
is it because he's from Cobham or because he's English? There is a difference.
It's
So
both. It's both. It's both, Terry. Because when we look at it, Chelsea fans want this guy to be the next Frank Lampard, but unfortunately, he's not. I wish he was, but unfortunately, he's not. All right. But when we come to a transfer window, we immediately write off Mount because he's English, he's proper Chelsea, he's a poster boy, and that's where there's double standards, Terry. Now, I'm not going to see it and I say I know it's because he's English. This is my theory, but there's a lot of factoring reasons why the Chelsea fans write him off, and I'm going to break it down and say it's because he's English. That's why, and that's double standards for me. If you're saying a player should stay because he's proper Chelsea, even though he's being horrible, I don't know what to say to you, Terry. That's double standards. That's double standards for me. Because we had Willian, a player who I say Mount's the English Willian, and we didn't give him the same prop we did to Mount. It's we give Mount too much prop. We give him too much excuses for his actions. He makes too many mistakes. And it's not just Mount. I'm not just coming at Mount. I'm coming at Havertz. I'm coming for all attack. Sterling as well. He's having a shocker. Like these players, we just don't. It's just with Mount. We just not honest with him. We're honest with players like Sterling. We're honest playing like Aubameyang, but we're not honest with Mount.
Do you not feel like the 2 games a week could be taking its toll here? You had a big Champions League game in the week that you had to
He
win.
didn't play.
Yeah, but your team still traveled. Yeah, your team still traveled. Still spent a night away. You went all the way to Austria, a night away, different bed, traveled back. That's got to take its toll as well, right? Do you feel like maybe you're over-analyzing this, and this is just because you've had to play 2 games in a week? Spurs play 2 games in a week, and they should have on any normal day they batter Bournemouth, but they had to fight from behind because they've had 2 games in the week. Arsenal's level of intensity has dropped in the last few weeks when they're playing 2 games per week. Like, isn't that normal?
Of course it is, and that's obviously a whole team's aspect that it's definitely normal, and it doesn't just come down to that, it comes down to player depth as well. That's bad as well. There's a lot of issues in Chelsea, and I can sit here for an hour and talk about every single one of them. What you're talking about here is squad depth. We don't have that squad depth, obviously. 2 games a week. These players, I'm sorry, but they're used to playing 2 games a week for 3 years straight now. Now I know that's a reason, but if we look at individual players, Mason Mount, he didn't play in midweek. But I know that's a factor. I know we definitely need to work on that. Potter, I said I want Potter to be a long-term manager. I want him to get our players. But if we don't get rid of these 9 out of 11 players we have in this club, I'm sorry, nothing's going to change. We need to start taking real action to these players because I'm sorry, all these players are horrible. When we're relying on someone like Thiago Silva, who's playing 2 weeks a game, and he's 40 years old, 39. It's just to me that's shocking. And now we have more injury crisis. We've got Kepa injured, and now we've lost another player. So let's see what we can do here. But it's not looking good for Chelsea, honestly. But we'll see what happens. I'm back in the team still. I'm back in the team. I'm here 3:30 a.m. watching you guys. Call me proper Chelsea, guys. I'm here 3:30 a.m.
I get that. Listen, Matt, thanks for coming on, mate, and giving us your views and your opinions. Of course, Mason Mount taking. I think the thing with Mason Mount is this: when you get what was it like 30 plus GA last year, a lot of people will look at that as there's been tangible output from him. There's still a lot of Chelsea fans I see, and it all depends on what groups you follow. That still want Kai Havertz to be given time, and I don't know. I think him being a Cobham graduate does, of course, give him some leeway. I don't necessarily think being English plays as big a part as some people make out, but I see this at all football clubs now. There's a percentage of fans of every club in the top 6 who have an issue with academy players and or English players and the way they're supported. So it's an intriguing one for me. I want to get your views. I want to get your opinions on that, people. Mount's going to bully Matt out of watching football. That's what he said there. Chelsea talk fluent trophies. Potter doesn't, is what Smokey Settin says. Terry, I'm 6'7", 230 pounds and trained Muay Thai for 13 years, 37 now. I've got no ground game. Would you win? Let's do a match in Amsterdam. Winner takes your car. Loser also gets your car. Well, I mean, it means I'm going to end up with my car then, but 6'7", 230 pounds, 13 years trained Muay Thai. I ain't fighting you. I'm 5'10", and I definitely don't weigh that much fighting fit. You'd probably beat me purely on power if you really trained proper Muay Thai for 13 years. And if you're going to compete in Amsterdam, generally the level of kickboxing in the Netherlands is very high. It's the home of, the amount I've been to a lot of K1 fights in Amsterdam as well. So very, very high level of kick. I mean, a style of kickboxing is literally Dutch kickboxing. You've got American kickboxing and Dutch kickboxing. Differences between the two. Google them, they're there. But no, I reckon you'd win. Anyway, I wanted to respond to that super chat because you took the time to took the time to do that. Took the time to do that. So there we go. Next caller, we're going to go to Alan's on Tottenham Fan. What are you saying, Alan?
Yeah, start with some positives. We won the game. Bentancur back-to-back goals in games, which is better for us. That's pretty much where it stops because no disrespect to Bournemouth, but you show up there with your full-strength team. I know about resting, but you play your best team. You put 2 or 3 past them. Then you can bring players off. But we were absolutely awful again. Slow start, slow build up, easy for Bournemouth to play against. I'm sorry, but this whole thing of, Tottenham fans glossing over bad performances because we get wins and all that has got to stop. I want this team to be playing further up the pitch, high intensity from the beginning. If we'd have done the second half in both the Sporting games and the game today, we would have got 3 points wrapped up from the start. We'd have got 3 points wrapped up against Bournemouth in 50, 60 minutes because they couldn't live with us when we moved the ball forward. And then against Sporting, we'd already be qualified for the Champions League. These slow starts, these pathetic starts from Spurs. And why is Conte, world-class manager, I don't say that, but you're persisting with people like Royale, who's not good enough, with Sanchez, who's not good enough. People like Spence sitting on the bench, not getting a chance or that. You're going to play him against Nottingham Forest in the Cup with a half-strung team that's going to make everyone look awful, and then he's going to be back on the bench and all that, not getting another chance. Things have got to change from top down in this club to be able to consistently compete like you're saying you're going to, or compete for trophies. And it's got to be the manager as well. Now, don't get me wrong, like I said, world-class manager, but you've got to put your stubbornness aside for the benefit of teams at times, and he's just not doing that, and it takes for 50, 55, 60 minutes to be able to perform against Bournemouth. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry. It's just, we'll take the win and there's good points, but I'm just not happy with the way we're so slow in games. Because when we came up against a Man United team who we played poorly against, and Arsenal as well, their quality, they just bury you within the half and then you're done. It's just not good enough in certain aspects. But the only silver lining this time is that we got the 3 points. Otherwise, if it had been exactly the same second half performance as it was in the first, we'd be 3 back-to-back defeats and then Spurs crying for something to be gone.
And you know, again, I'd be frustrated as a Tottenham fan because when you attack and you use the quality you've got, you're a pretty good team. You just decide not to use it at certain times, and you should not be struggling to beat Sporting's, Bournemouths. Not with the quality that you have, and that is a managerial issue. A tactic and system issue, and you only came out full pelt attack when you went 2-0 down. It's what I've been saying all season about Tottenham. It's unsustainable football because even if you play Bournemouth 10 times on the bounce and they had a 2-0 lead after 50 minutes, you may only come back in half of them. Even against Bournemouth, you're playing a better team today. It's like with Newcastle last week. They got a 2-goal lead and you could not break them down because they're a better team than Bournemouth. And I think that you're right to call that out. Obviously, good perseverance, great fight from your team to get themselves back into that position. You couldn't afford to lose 3 on the bounce, not with the pressure that's kind of mounting around your team and stuff like that. But you did get the win, a couple of points behind Arsenal. So positionally and points total, you're still in a very good place.
No, don't get me wrong. Like I said, obviously still third in the table, so it looks good. But there are bigger issues. I saw a comment from Josh King Spurs. So I just thought I'd have paid it. Like, we're our strongest team. I don't care. We got 4th, and then we built the players. We brought the players in, like spent over 100 million and all that to get a better squad because we were claiming we had a better squad. So that squad, no matter who you rotate, should be able to get jobs done like against Bournemouth easier than what we did and all that. I'm sorry, people saying that we're our strongest team. We got to stop getting away from weak excuses like that. If you're in the Premier League and you're playing a Premier League team and you're playing, your squad should be good enough to compete against teams smaller or just on the same level as you if you rotate a couple out. I'm sorry, you still had Son and Kane in there. Højbjerg, who's been our mainstay this season. You still got, obviously, Lloris had a shocker against Thingy, but he had a good game against Man United. You still got the wing backs that you persevere with in Sessegnon and Royale and all that. So you can't say it's a completely a team that's nowhere near good enough. And weak excuses from Spurs fans is just starting to really wind me up, because we're meant to have a decent squad now to compete on all fronts and all that, and we're still going to build towards that. So I'm sorry, I'm not having these weak excuses. People have got to be held accountable for when we play this bad, because although we got the result this time, back-to-back defeats in the Premier League and not getting through in the Champions League until the last group game, if we get through at all, isn't good enough.
I hear you on that, Alan. Great call, my friend. Thanks for coming on and giving us your thoughts and your feelings. Thank you. We had another super chat here. Oh, sorry, we read that one out there. Next on the show, I'm going to young Daniel, the Spurs fan. Hopefully he's not screaming like a dinosaur today. What are you saying, mate?
Yeah, when we scored that goal, I was just there sitting there for the screen, waiting for a VAR screen to come up for like a good 2 minutes until I was completely sure that it was going to be a goal, and then I celebrated. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know why we have to wait till the 55th minutes until we play football. It is a mentality problem, because if it is a quality problem, you'd see on the pitch that the whole game would be poor. It's impossible at a team that, if they're crap, like everybody else is saying, which I think they're average, but not crap. If they're crap, they'd be crap the whole game. Why do they just become good players in the 55th minute? I don't understand that. And either way, the quality thing doesn't come into the argument, because I don't care if we put our academy. I don't care if we're resting for a Tuesday. Our team should be able to beat Bournemouth. There's no excuses for that. We should not be conceding goals to Bournemouth. No disrespect to Bournemouth, because they've been playing very well this season. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't have to wait till the 55th minute to see our team play football. That's just not how it should be.
Listen, I completely agree with you. And I know there'll be some Tottenham fans that will say, oh, yeah, Terry only gets negative Spurs fans on the terrace. But I don't think you're being negative. I think you're being real, because that's the unsustainable part of how Tottenham have been this year. And, with Newcastle improving, Man United improving, Chelsea are going for a bad patch, but I'm still sure they're gonna be strong as the season goes on. You want to see your team getting better over the course of the campaign. And if you were playing pretty much anybody outside the bottom 5 teams, you probably wouldn't have come back today, in my view, because they're just that little bit better. So you want more from them. But great character, great fighters have already kind of pointed out. I assume you're just going to put this all down to the system that you play, though, because as you've said, the players, when they turned it on, they turned it on. It can't just be is it the way they're being coached and trained, or do you think maybe it's not the system and it's just the players lack the winning mentality to have that attitude from the first whistle? Or do you think this is more a system issue that's just, you conceded goals against a run of play today, so the system kind of fell apart a bit? What's your take?
Yeah, I don't think the system is the issue, because last season we were playing with the same system and we didn't have these issues. Now we go into this season, and I think it has to do with the mentality of the players. The media and all the fans started saying that Tottenham could win a trophy this season, Tottenham could be good this season. The pressure mounted onto them, and they can't handle that. They don't have the winning mentality that Antonio Conte has. That's why I get so mad when people blame this on Antonio Conte's tactics. Antonio Conte doesn't have to prove his tactics to anybody. Let's be completely honest here. He's won trophies everywhere in Europe. The players that have to prove themselves, the people that need to prove themselves, are the players. These players like Eric Dyer, Davinson Sanchez, I've been here since 2015. They shouldn't even been here in the first place. And they get the free pass. But every time we get a manager that loses 3 games in a row, it's their fault. They have to go. I don't understand that. It's the players on the pitch. They're average, and at the same time, their mentality is absolutely poor. Antonio Conte is trying to build something here where the players have a killer mentality, and the players are not buying for it. I'm telling you, in a month's time, you'll see media's coming out of Eric Dyer saying, that the training sessions are too hard, like they always do about every single manager that comes in. They did the same thing, even though he's crap, but they did the same thing to him. Jose Mourinho, they did the same thing to him. Ryan Mason, even though he's also crap, but we do the same thing to every single manager. And at the end of the day, the reason the fans are doing this and saying Conte out is because they have the opportunity to bring in Pochettino. That's the only reason they're saying Conte out. The second Pochettino was sacked for PSG, all you saw on Twitter was, I want Pochettino back at Tottenham. That's when the whole Conte out started. So the fans need to fix their mentality. If we want to win a trophy, we need to have our priorities straight. Trophies is up here, and playing good football is down here. That's just how it should be.
Fair enough, Dan. Good opinions, mate. Well spoke out. Top man. We'll speak to you again soon. All the best, mate. Thank you very much indeed. Josh King here says the subs made the difference. Conte is starting with suicidal lineups through stubbornness. I still believe in him getting it right eventually, though. Yeah, I believe the lineup was a big issue today. Start with more on the pitch. You're away at Bournemouth. You're not away at Man City. Be more assertive in the way you play. Monstar coming on now to have his say on Chelsea's big defeat today. What you saying, bro?
Yeah. Today it was shocking. As I said it, I don't know if I said it on here, but I definitely said it in a space. I said I don't like what Potter's doing in terms of when you're setting up teams in the Champions League, don't set it up the same way in the Prem. Two completely different competitions. What works in the Champions League is not going to work in the Premier League. Today, we set up with two wingers as wingbacks, right? If you don't have a midfield that's going to cover those wingbacks, you're going to get exposed. And what you saw today was the midfield was nowhere to be found. And every time Cucurella what they did was they targeted Cucurella, right? Targeted him and was just hammering him. You play wingbacks. One has to be defensive and the other one can be attacking. That way, when you're defending, you can shift to a 4 and you're covered. Or the midfielders can go in there and cover that space. Unfortunately, today, we saw it. And what people are going to say is, how about now? People are at me, Jorginho, he wasn't playing today. Look at how Chelsea performed. And I have to remind people, did Jorginho not play against Man United? How did it work over there? A lot of Chelsea fans in general, they can't see the bigger picture. I don't know what's going to happen with this team. Where we're going as a club. I know long term it's going to be good, but for the short term, there's going to be a lot of pain. And we have to, Chelsea fans, you've got to adjust your expectations. There's going to be a lot of pain at first.
I kind of get that. Interestingly, like the whole J5 thing is, yes, you said that he isn't good enough, but it wasn't like he was saying Kovacic and Loftus-Cheek and everybody else is. It was a case of, it's. I don't really get why people are coming for you with that. He's an issue, but the rest of them are. And a few people are asking, what about Kovacic today? Ask Monstar for his opinion on that.
Have I not been going in on Kovacic as well?
No, you have 100%. That's why people don't watch all the content and they just see sound bites. And it's interesting today because Kovacic has been he helped change the game when he came on against Man United, but today from the start, like Caicedo just pocketed him like 110%.
I said the only player, because these guys will be calling these guys world class. I said Chelsea. When it comes to the midfielders, there's only one world-class player in there. There's Kante, but he has these injury problems. I can't pick out one, even half, 6 months, 3 months even of a season where I could say any of these Chelsea players in the Premier League have given me 3 months of consistent form. Jorginho was great in the Champions League and the Euros, but that season he was shocking in the Premier League. Kovacic has always been on and off. He's never been that guy. I don't have to keep telling people, yeah? These men will tell you he's world class. Okay, look at today. Look at Aston Villa. Look at Brentford. Sample size matters. I can bring a sample size that will tell you all these guys, they're shit. I can't. The sample size matters. The sample size these guys will give me is 5 games. I can give you 5 seasons of them being crap. It's as simple as that. So where Chelsea's going, Terry, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of L's. Arsenal, oh boy, it's gonna be bad.
Well, that's such because of this. You don't want to be going 4 games without a win in the Premier League. I know a lot of people are abusing me online for saying we won the Champions League, but the league, that's 3 games without a win. Your next game is hosting Arsenal, and yes, you're at Stamford Bridge, but you're just looking at it now like Pulisic and like people have to go Sterling. Sterling was started. He started as a wing back today, though.
I knew.
Terry. I didn't even deep that until I just looked at I didn't look at any kind of website for like the formation and breakdown. And I'm like, man's being played as a wing back. He is an inside forward. Like, how are you having a go at Raheem Sterling? It's crazy.
So when I came on a few months ago, when I said I'll be back here in January, we'll see where Chelsea are in January, right? I can't remember who I asked, but it might have been Matt or so. I asked someone, I said, if we know what Sterling gives us, we know who Sterling is, we know what kind of player he is, right? I said, if Sterling turns out and starts to look at the rest of the attackers, which it is happening right now, what are we going to say then? It's a conveyor belt. I kept telling people, Lukaku is not as bad. I know what he did with the interview was stupid or this and that. He's not as bad as people try to make him out to be. He's not that horrible a player. He's a striker. All you got to do is provide chances for him. He will get you goals. It's as simple as that. Today, you saw it with Sterling, and it's been happening with Sterling. Now, all of a sudden, all of Chelsea's fans are now saying, or most of them are saying, Sterling is shit. We should have never bought him. Like, are we going to continue doing this with every attacker? We're going to bring one in or bring 2 in. It's not going to go well. They're not going to really address the real issues in the team, and then everyone's going to say they're shit. How long are we going to keep doing this for? I'm tired of it. Like, I don't know.
Mate, listen, I agree. And I understand. It's such a weird one for me because I kind of look at it from the point of view of I watched the game today and I didn't feel that you were breaking their lines. I didn't feel you were getting in behind. I didn't feel you were creating opportunities for them. And I said it earlier on the stream. You then get these responses of, yeah, but I want attackers that can create and score their own goals. Like most players, even the greatest ever, don't create out of nothing all their own goals. They do that a handful of times a season.
Name me one Premier League team where only the attackers were creating their own chances and and scoring them?
And even then, no one can define what they even mean by that. Like, because most of those goals they'll probably explain to you. You'll see 4 or 5 teammates help in the build up to it. And the fact is, if you guys were getting in behind the fullbacks of your opponents and cutting balls back into that 6-yard area, players like Raheem Sterling and Aubameyang, if you were doing it 5, 6, 7 times a game like City do, like your team used to do, then your players would be eating. Your strikers would be lapping it up, but you're not doing it.
Did City not win the league without a proper recognized striker? Most of the time they won. Most of Guardiola's leagues, or 2 of them, without a proper striker, weren't it? Like Jesus weren't scoring. That's why he wanted Haaland in there. Like they've been doing it because De Bruyne has been doing everything from them in midfield, and obviously Bernardo Silva. Their midfield is literally what holds this team together. But yeah, I've got to accept from my team, my midfield, the only thing they have to do is hold the ball. Like, what is that? Where are we going with this? Where? Like, when they can't defend, they can't score, they can't assist, they can't create chances. What are they here for? But then at the same time, I'm not gonna absolve Havertz. He's been shit. Mount, he's been shit. I'm not absolving him either. The attackers can get it too. If they're being shit, I want Havertz out of this team personally. I think it's time to go.
I totally get you on that. It's about being fair. It's like I keep seeing like certain fan bases online argue that winning trophies isn't actually an important element of the game anymore, and it's because what they're trying to do is make sure their favorite player gets lauded as a legend or a star. You see it in game by game analysis. I love my midfielders, so I need to relinquish them from all blame. So I don't care about that they're not good at defending. I don't care they're not good at creating. They'll find the one thing they're good at and make that be the be all and the end all. And that's it. That's what a great midfielder is. The rest of it is everybody else's fault. And it's nonsense. Your midfield is the engine room and hub of your team. And you've seen at Man United recently, the midfield's improved, the team's improved. You look at City's team, the Rodris, the KDBs, the Gundogan's. You take those 3 players out and put in
Chelsea's midfield.
Well, you put Chelsea's midfield, or you put McFred into the middle of the park for City, keep everything else the same, they regress very quickly as a team. The midfield is so important. And you think about all the teams that have won Premier League titles and then go and look at their midfields. They're good. They've all got very good midfields. No, I don't think anyone's ever won a Premier League without at least one top class / world-class midfielder. You can maybe argue.
I can't remember.
You can maybe argue Blackburn. I'd have to go back and look at their team back in '95. But Tim Sherwood, I swear Tim Sherwood was in midfield. He was pretty good in his day. But then you could probably argue them, and they must have. I'll have to go back and look at their team. I don't remember. I was too young. I was only about 9, and I've never gone back and looked. But everybody has top class midfielders, and you guys just don't. And if you had Kante at his best still, that would make a big difference. But you just don't have a midfield.
Even him in the league, you say, even him being top class, it only takes you so far. The last time we won the league was with Kante, and he also had Matic, and coming off the bench was Fabregas. Like, so you need a top class midfield, and our midfield is just, I'm tired, man. Every team is exploiting us. Like, it's hard to watch. If you watch today, Brighton, it took one pass every time. One pass slices through our midfield and then off again straight at us every single time. I don't know. I'm tired of it. I don't know. It's like people are not listening. I'm not saying that our attack is good. I don't think it's good at all, personally, as well. But I don't think there's a platform good enough. We have a platform good enough to even judge our attack properly to see if they're good enough or not. Like, every attacker's coming in here and just failing. Like, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, Terry, I don't know what to say. We took the L. We're taking L again.
I hear you. Are you confident of top 4? Do you still think you can make that? Or do you feel like with Man United rising, Newcastle just looking brilliant, and Spurs and Arsenal being ahead of you already, do you feel like maybe you'll miss out this year?
I think we'll miss out. Um, I think as well, missing out, it's tough because obviously the Champions League money is all they're gonna want to need that, especially how much we spend and how much we want to spend, and obviously we want to bring in top class players as well. It's gonna be tough for Chelsea to get the Champions League. It's gonna be tough. Like, I don't know how they're gonna do it because when I'm looking at this team, it's not getting any better. I don't know how. I don't know how. Like, we're losing to Brighton. We're struggling against Brentford. Aston Villa, we did win 2-0, but we struggled in that game as well.
Yeah.
Who are these guys beating?
It's going to be an intriguing one. I mean, I've seen a few Chelsea fans kind of say they think Graham Potter may have been a mistake of a hire, and I get the opinion. It may be a little bit too soon for that, but the thing is, though, with the amount of money you've spent and the fact you will need Champions League football, especially when you're looking at Christopher Nkunku, you're looking at Bruno Guimaraes, you're looking at a few others like that. If you miss out on it, Chelsea can still attract people, but it will make it harder. And it's like, where's the money coming from? Because Champions League football is so lucrative. So it's going to be, listen, it makes the season more exciting.
The number one player to me, I don't think we'll have an issue with Nkunku. I think the big problem, Chelsea want to get Leao. I think that would be a massive challenge to pull off if we don't get Champions League.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely get Declan Rice still. That's the other one. He
Yeah,
wants
we'll
to be
get
back.
Rice.
He wants to be back at Chelsea. If you got relegated, I think Declan Rice is time for you. But there we go. Monstar, always a pleasure speaking, my friend, and we'll chat again soon.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, bro.
Peace,
Take care,
people.
mate. Thank you. Honest words there from Monstar. Obviously, heard from a lot of Tottenham and Chelsea fans today about their team's 2 games. Hit that like and that share button for us right now. Get that done. A big thank you, by the way, to Strasbourg Steve for becoming an official member again of the Football Terrace. I know a few people have had some issues with their membership not renewing properly today. I've had a few people DM me. It's a YouTube issue. Just try it again. It's it's been a little bit weird in terms of that. His insight is always good, especially for those who don't watch Chelsea much like me. Monstar's just really what I like about Monstar. The most content creators and people that speak on their clubs are not like this. He doesn't toe the party line. He says what he thinks. And that's why you often get a lot of Chelsea fans go, what? How dare you say that? He's speaking his mind as opposed to just rattling out the same boring, tired, conveyor belt opinions that other people do. And it's why there are certain Spurs fans that attack the Spurs fans that come on the terrace because they call out Conte. And they're like, no, we're pushing the notion that no one should say nothing negative about Conte. That's weird. That's not what being fans is about. You're meant to have differences of opinions, have conversations about them, and don't create weird echo chambers. Terry, Liverpool are playing at a weird time. Yeah, it is a weird time, but I love it. I love the fact we can have. I like the breaks between. If I could like put the timings in for football matches purely from a content creating point of view, I'd always have about a 2-hour gap between any top 6 teams kicking off at the end of the other one finishing so we can make content. I love it. I'm not going to lie. I love it. Orchie's on now. Archie's a Tottenham fan. What are you saying, mate?
Hello, Terry. Sorry, caught me by surprise. Yeah, mate. I to be honest, I saw the starting 11 and immediately I had concerns today. I will say, obviously, I'm not one of the guys saying get Conte out, but the last few weeks, some of his selections has really been frustrating me. I appreciate that. Obviously, now Marseille game in midweek is taken on a massive importance. So I appreciate he wanted to rest some players. I get that. But, people like Davinson Sanchez, these guys are not good enough. And his loyalty to Emerson Royale and these kind of players, and obviously Oliver Skip as well. I was kind of scratching my head why last season, before he got injured, he was doing well for him, but he's been out for a long time and he hasn't had the time to come back into the team. So I think you mentioned it with one of the other fans before, like you got Lucas Moura. Although Moura sometimes he runs around like a headless chicken with not much end result, but then he's one that can be a nuisance and cause chances to happen and open things up. So Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree that that's the part that really frustrates me with Conte. And people like Brian Hill, when they've come on in games, although, again, he's bringing them on really, really late, like 80th minute subs, 85th minute subs. And when they come on, they've looked lively. So why not give them, more of an opportunity in this kind of period where you want to rest some of the, players like Bentancur. I mean, again, he came on, and I thought once he came on, he made the biggest difference to the team. But that's the bit that frustrates me about Conte. I don't know. He has these kind of almost like he has his favorites that I appreciate. All managers have their favorites, but time and time again, certain players are letting them down, and they're not really showing anything new. So you've got people like Jed Spence who's not getting a chance. You've got people like Brian Hill. You've got people like, even I think Ivan Perisic would have been better today. But yeah, that's the bit that really frustrates me.
I totally get that, and I agree with you. I didn't think there was any reason for you to start with a team was so defensive. You're playing one of the worst teams in the league, and I think that's look. And look, there'll be some Spurs fans that go, "Why is it even? Why are you even focusing on it? We won the game. It doesn't matter. Let it go." But I think that's the wrong way to look at things, because if that mistake's being made now and it gets made again and it gets made again, then it will at some point cost you points. Well, it has already cost you points, and it could cost you them in the future. And fans are absolutely right to call the team out on that. You want to see these things improve and become better. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. But you did get the win. You did get the 3 points. And how important were they with Newcastle winning? United likely, on paper, form and historically likely to beat West Ham tomorrow, closing in on you. I mean, you still got, I think you're 6 points ahead of Man United in 6, but United have 2 games in hand over you. It's so tight in this top 4 race is so tight, isn't it?
It is definitely. And Newcastle, they're just going from strength to strength. I've got to be honest, I didn't really see them being this strong this year. I thought they'd be inconsistent. I thought they'd win a couple of matches, lose a couple of matches, win, but they'll be around like the kind of the 6th or the 7th. But they look like they're ready to challenge for top 4 this season. And I think it just makes things even more interesting.
It most certainly does. I mean, it makes things at the top, to quote your words, very interesting. It's intriguing. Will they maintain this form, Newcastle? Will they stay at this level? I don't know if I'm not convinced right now that they will stay at this level. That's not a dig. It's just it's hard to maintain it. They started slowly, and that's what's really interesting. They started slowly in this campaign. And I remember when they, I remember listening to Talk Sport one day driving into London, and there was a Newcastle fan that came on who basically sort of said, like, we're playing really well, but we've got to start turning some of these performances into wins. Otherwise, we'll get left behind. And they did. And they have started to turn those performances into wins. And they're just looking really, really strong right now. And I feel like since the Man United, the last couple of games, they've really gone on to another level, with putting teams to bed and whatever else. So it's going to be an amazing top 4 run. And I think that although you'll want those performances to improve, when you get those 3 points, you can sit down tonight, with a pint of beer, a bit of food, watch match of the day, and enjoy it. Especially
it doesn't ruin your weekend.
Exactly.
It doesn't ruin your weekend. It's just you think, it's one more hurdle that we got past, and I don't know. I really hope come Christmas after the World Cup. Obviously, it's going to be a weird year this year because obviously previous times World Cup's been in the summer, and then that's kind of like a shopping window for. And I wonder if it's going to be an active window at Christmas. What do you think?
It's going to be an interesting one. It's one of those. I mean, we're obviously going to be making World Cup content, and we were talking about this again. I wonder if there'll be proper transfer rumors and stories. Maybe there will be, because by the time there always is when the World Cup's on in the summer, and by the time football returns, it's only football returns 4 days from the transfer window opening. So maybe you'll get this thing of, well, these 2 or 3 players are really good at the World Cup. We want to go and get them now. You've got players like Trossard in great form that have got 6 months left on his contract. A team like Arsenal might think, right, let's go on offer like 5 million, 10 million now. Get him in so that we get him those like Trossard now for 6 months. Like, stick him in an Arsenal team right now. He might help win them an extra 6 points. Those 6 points could be the difference between a title challenge, top 4, winning a trophy, and it's worth its weight in gold. So, yeah, it could be a really interesting time. Orchie, really appreciate you coming on, mate, and having your say. Top man. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off when you were speaking at the end there. Sorry. And everyone that's tuned in, I really appreciate all that you do for us. Hi, Terry, bro. Big up. What's the link? I'd love to have my say on Newcastle. We'll definitely do that on the next call-in show at the end of the Liverpool game. I have got to go now. It is the end of the show. I'm sorry to everyone else who's waiting backstage. I really apologize. To everyone else that has tuned in, thank you. Hit the like and share button before you leave. Subscribe to the Football Terrace. We're live after Liverpool versus Leeds. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. We'll see you soon. Thank you.